The last headline, the Commonwealth was alive, again, in its own broken way. Settlements grew stronger. Under the Minutemen's watch, the Brotherhood kept to the skies, and whispers of old powers trying to claw back from the ruins lingered in every shadow, but for the first time in centuries, there was a sense of direction. Piper Wright sat at her desk, in public occurrences, staring at the unfinished headline in her notepad, Institute destroyed, Commonwealth free. It should have been the story of the century, and it was, but it felt empty, because in the end, stories weren't about walls falling, or factions rising, they were about people, and her story was tangled up with the one who'd made it happen. The office door creaked open. Piper looked up and saw them Blue, the sole survivor. Their armor was scraped and dented, their shoulders sagging, like they'd carried the world on their back for too long, which, Piper thought, was more or less true. Figured you'd be halfway to sanctuary by now, Piper said, leaning back in her chair. They gave a tired half smile. I thought about it, but I couldn't leave without saying goodbye. Something sharp twisted in her chest at that word. Goodbye. She hid it behind a smirk. Goodbye, Blue. Don't tell me you're hanging up the hero gig. The Commonwealth ain't exactly running itself, you know. They stepped closer, and the light caught the lines in their face lines grief and battle had carved deep. That's just it, Piper. I've done my part. The Minutemen have leaders now. Settlements are growing. People are stronger than they give themselves credit for. They don't need me anymore. Piper swallowed hard. So, what then? You just walk off into the wasteland, fade into the history books. Maybe. They hesitated, then softened. Or maybe I just stop wandering, stop fighting, find some peace for once. The silence that followed was heavy, like the air before a storm. Piper's pen tapped against the desk until she realized her hand was shaking. You know, she said, quietly, I've been writing this story in my head since the day we met. The stranger from the vault, the hero of the Commonwealth, thought it would have this big, dramatic ending. Turns out, it's just two tired souls in a shabby newspaper office, trying to figure out what comes next. They gave her that look, the one that stripped away all her bravado. What if what comes next isn't a story, Piper? What if it's just living? Her throat tightened, but she forced a smile. Living, huh? That's a hell of a headline. They chuckled, and for a moment, the weight of the world seemed lighter. Piper stood, walked around the desk, and stopped, inches away from them. If you're really done, Blue, then don't go it alone. Stay with me, with Nat, with Diamond City. Maybe the world doesn't need another hero, but She stopped herself before the words got away, but they understood. She could see it in their eyes.
The sole survivor reached out, taking her hand, rough and calloused from 100 fights. Piper didn't pull away. For once, she let herself believe in something beyond headlines and battles. Outside, Diamond City's neon signs flickered, stubborn against the night. Life went on. The Commonwealth would stumble, fall, rise again. But here, in this cramped little office above the marketplace, two wanderers finally stopped running. Piper turned back to her desk, crossed out her old headline, and wrote the last one she'd ever need: The Commonwealth endures. And for the first time in a long time, she put down her pen, leaned into the warmth of the hand holding hers, and let the story end.